and welcome. My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today we're going to take a look at the new SUQQU Signature Color Eyes, and this is the new eyeshadow formula that SUQQU has just debuted with the spring collection. Now with the spring collection, technically there is one limited edition spring palette, which is number 101, and then palettes 1 through 6 are all permanent, and they came out as part of the spring collection, but they are a permanent product. So today we're going to take a look at my favorite so far. It's actually the only one I've tried, but it was the one I was most looking forward to, and that is this palette here, number 6. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but I think it is pronounced Fukakanade. So it's number 6, and I was really looking forward to this quad because they're my colors. You know, you've got this beautiful soft brown, you've got a lovely mossy green, you have this kind of steel blue kind of color. It's technically gray, but you can see some blue in there. And then you have more of an ivory sparkle shade. This is a topper shade. So these are the 4 shades in number 6. This is how they swatch. And I have to say that one of the things I'd like to note about this quad, or this formula in general, is that they are buildable. So here's the gray, and I'm just going to show you how you can kind of build this shade up and get it even darker. It's all of these shades, aside from the topper really, you can see are totally buildable. And that's something that is a feature of this formula. So it's not just particular shades. This formula in general was designed to be very buildable. So you get that really soft light wash of color that is so common with Japanese makeup. And then for people who want something more intense, or if you're just in a different mood, you know, you can really build them up, and they layer very easily so that you can get that pigmented product. You can see what a difference that makes. Now, briefly, I'd like to share with you the information from SUQQU on their website about this eyeshadow formula. And it says, SUQQU's iconic eyeshadow palette gives exquisitely refined colors for lustrous eyes, for a simple basic look with a touch of refinement. Designed to adhere closely and seamlessly, its color quite simply becomes one with the eyelid. Blendable and buildable color payoff with a blissfully smooth texture. And I have to say that this formula is incredibly nice. It's very silky. So like the topper shade, if you swatch it with your finger, you know, you'll feel a little bit of the grittiness from the glitter. But again, it's a topper and it's sheer, and honestly, whether you use a brush or a finger application, I find that the intensity is about the same. These other shades, however, you know, they are completely buildable, and they just feel silky smooth. And one of the things I'd like to note is, I mean, I've used this 4 or 5 times now, and you can see that there's really no like powder kick up or anything in the pan. It doesn't get dusty. So this powder, it's different. You know, a lot of times these powders that don't provide a lot of kick up or anything, they're more of that creamy formula, whereas instead this is just like a silky smooth formula. It really feels like silk. I don't know how else to explain that, but I do notice that it really does seem to meld with your skin. It's sort of like after it goes on, it kind of sets into your skin a little bit, like I actually just recently explained with the new Sicily blushes. They kind of set with your skin and just blend in beautifully with that. These have very different textures, but they both have that same type of effect. Now, in this case, when you go on with a lighter layer and you blend it out, I mean, honestly, there's like hardly any blending required with these shadows. They really just kind of meld with that skin. Now, I do want to note that wear time with these shadows, they last about 6 hours or so on me without creasing, without a primer. If I use a primer, I do get full day wear, but that is something I wanted to note because the Designing Color Eyes, which is their previous formula, you know, that is a great formula as well. I really like it. It's not as silky smooth as this is. There is a little bit more powder kick up with some of those shades, and it's just, it doesn't seem quite as refined. I still love both formulas. But the Designing Color Eyes does seem to last a little bit longer on my eyes without a primer than the new Signature Color Eyes. Now, in my opinion, the Signature Color Eyes, if you're looking for soft, seamless color, this is it. You can definitely go dramatic when you build up these colors as well. And I think that's really great to have a palette that is so easily buildable because you have a variety of looks that you can do with this. Now, if you take a look at the shades here in number 6, again, I think it's Fukakanade. So we've got this sheer white topper here. And then we have this neutral brown here. So there's a touch of warmth, but it's still pretty neutral. You can see it's a soft brown. And then this shade here is a mossy green. You can see that it's kind of like a khaki green. There's a little bit of gray in there. And then this last shade here is gray. There's a little bit of a steel blue tone to it, but you know how a lot of grays often have kind of like an overpowering blue hue to it? This doesn't. It's very, very slight. So it's actually much more gray than anything else. And again, this is the gray built up. Let me show you these other shades built up as well. So these are the 3 shades built up. Again, I didn't build the topper because I've tried building this. It really doesn't build. This is what it is. So this is 1 layer, this is 3 layers. So you can see how much more pigmented you can get with these colors. Now, overall, this quad looked to be the coolest in tone out of any of the newly released quads. I would have to say that it's really more neutral than cool tone. Yes, you've got some cooler tones in there, but they're still really pretty neutral, and you've got some warmth in there as well with this brown here. So overall, I would say that the palette is neutral. They don't really seem to have anything that I've tried yet that is truly a cool tone quad. Now, I originally purchased this quad and 2 others. I was really trying to get the 101. I couldn't get my hands on it at first. Thankfully, with the restock, I ended up picking up the rest of the palettes. So I will have all of the SUQQU palettes very soon. They should be delivered early next week. So we have that to look forward to. I'm very, very excited. So again, this is the formula with 1 layer versus 3 layers. Now I have 4 looks to share with you, and you can see some really light, soft looks with this, as well as something a little bit deeper like this. This is actually just the green, essentially. So we're going to take a look at that, and then I'll meet you back here. We'll go over a few more notes about packaging and the formula and some comparisons. So I have on the Tom Ford Eye Primer. This is quad number 6 from the new SUQQU collection. We're going to go into the brown with the Rougher 15 brush. And I just picked up the tiniest bit on the brush. Okay, so very, very small amount. Next, I'm taking the Worker 3 into the blue-gray shade, and I'm going to add this to the outer corner here. And same brush, wiped it off into the green. Back with the Rougher 15 into the brown shade, and just going into the crease a little bit again. And going back in with the green, just going to add a touch more of this. Taking the smudger one into the white, and I'm using the side of the smudger one to get a little bit for the inner corner here. And I'm just going to kind of stretch that over a little bit as well. I use a little bit of this right under the brow arch as well. I wiped off the Rougher 15, and I'm just going to kind of blend right under the arch, kind of spread that out a little bit better. And I'm taking the smudger one with the green under the lower lash line. So this is the final look up close. I'm gonna finish my makeup and I'll see you in a minute. So I haven't added blush yet, but this is the final look from a distance. I added the Chantecaille Luster Glide eyeliner in Slate right along the lash line. I have the Swatch Noir Lash Tint on, the Guerlain High Perfection foundation, and this is the SUQQU Lip Glow in 103, which is limited edition. So I'm starting off with the Chantecaille Eye Blend brush, and I'm going to go into this gray shade here. And we're just going to etch this along the lash line. I'm not wearing any primer today. I'm just going to brush that out a little bit. I'm just going to make that a little bit deeper, actually. So I'm taking the Sonia G flat definer. I'm just going to drag that into like a little bit of a thinner line there on the outer edges here. So it's a little bit of a wing, but barely noticeable. I'm going to take the Eason G34 and go into this brown very lightly. And I'm going to add this to the crease, but you can see that this is a large crease brush. And I'm just trying to get like the tiniest bit of shadow there, just for a little bit of added depth. And I wiped off the brush. I'm using the same brush, but this time I'm going to use the side of it with the white. And I'm going to put this all over the lid. Going for a really light look today. So this is with a loose brush. And now I'm going to take the white with my finger, and we're just going to see if that makes much of an impact. Not really. I'm going to take the Sonia G Builder 3 in the white and just see if that makes a difference. We're going to try this on the other eye. So there we go. There's no appreciable difference with the application method for that shade. And it is intended to be a topper. So here we go. Just something really light and a little sparkle today because it's sitting around at home today. So I added mascara, but I don't like this shadow here. So I'm just going to wipe that away, and you can see wipes away super easily. No issues with that. And there we go. I'll just go over that a little bit with my foundation brush just to make sure there's no color left. And I added the Swatch Noir Lash Tint to the lashes. And that's going to be it. We're going with super light and easy because I'm not doing anything today. And this is today's final look from a distance. Super light, kind of fresh, springy eye look. And then I added the SUQQU Lip Glow in number 103 and the Sisley blush in number 1, Pink Peony, which is this. And then I also have on the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust palette. And that's it. All right, I'm starting off with the Sonia G Crease 2 into the brown shade. And I might have a little bit of stray glitter on my eyes that's not from the makeup. Next, I'm taking the Sonia G Soft Shader in the same shade. I'm gonna apply this over the majority of the lid. It's just such a beautiful soft brown. I mean, look at this. It's like a great one and done shade for me. Could just call it a day there. I love this shade, but I'm gonna go into the green. I'm just gonna add a little bit of this starting in the middle. I'm not really sure yet. Let's see. Just kind of wanted to see how the colors layer. I'm gonna move this out to the outer corner. So you can see that that is not going to, it's definitely not opaque enough to overshadow the brown. You see the green on there, and where I pat it, you can definitely see more. But if you swipe it out, it's really more of a sheer layer, and you can see both shades there. Wiped off the brush, and I'm just gonna kind of feather out those edges a little bit closer towards the inner corner. And now I'm going into the Sparkle Topper shade. I'm gonna start in the inner corner and work up to about the halfway point, basically. Just going very lightly. So it just, well, actually we'll just go all the way over, but you can see I concentrated the sparkle in the center, and then we just have a very tiny bit over the rest of it. Just add a little bit more. I'm touching the rest of the lid incredibly softly, just so I don't really get much. Taking the Chantecaille eye blend brush, and I'm going to spray it with some Evian water. And I am just going to line the upper lash line. So this will give a thick line with the green shade. I want to see what it's like wet. Okay, so I think it made it a little bit more of an emphasis being wet, but it's still very soft, and you still have that really nice satin sheen to it. So there it is. You can see that it definitely made more of an impact being wet. However, still not as, impactful as it is with some of the more traditional shadows that we get here in America. We still have that really soft effect, and it still looks like a seamless blend, even though I didn't do anything at all to blend that. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this brush, and I'm just gonna wipe it off. It's still a little damp. I'm gonna go into the brown shade for the lower lash line. Okay, I'm wiping it off, just pressing the side of this brush into the glitter just to get a tiny bit more right at the inner corner and heading down a little bit. So I'm kind of like cradling that area. All right, and this is the eye look. And this is the final look from a distance. And I have a mix of the new Sisley blushes in shades 1 and 2 on my cheeks. And then the Guerlain Meteorites in Pearl Glow on top of that, as well as the little bit of the pink highlight from the Guerlain Pearl Dust palette. And that's just like right up here. On my lips, I have the Guerlain Rouge G lipstick from the spring collection in number 76. And that is everything. By the way, the mascara is Surratt Noir Lash Tint. I have the Tom Ford Emotion Proof primer on, and I'm starting with the Sonia G crease one. I'm gonna go into this gray shade here. I just twirled my brush in here, and I'm gonna just work this into the crease a bit. So you can see I can really soften that, but this shade can go deep if you really want it to. And then I'm going to go in to the green with the Sonia G Worker 2. I'm just gonna put this all over. Look at that shade. That is beautiful. We're just gonna build this up a little bit. That's just a beautiful green shade. And taking the crease one into the sparkly shade, I'm just gonna dab this in the inner corner. And just taking a touch of that right under the brow. For the lower lash line, taking the crease one into the green and just gonna dust this lightly there. And this is it for the eyes. I'm gonna add a liner and mascara, and I'll see you in a minute. This is the final look from a distance. I added the Chanel Stylo Yeux waterproof eyeliner in 951 Khaki Intense, just really close to the upper lash line, and the Surratt Noir lash tint. On my cheeks, I have the new SUQQU blush from the spring collection in 125. And on my lips, this is the limited edition SUQQU Lip Fog in 104. And again, spring collection. I personally think this whole look, it's very fall to me, very autumnal, but this is it for today. So I hope that was helpful. The quad actually comes packaged in a box like this. You've got this cardboard sleeve inside for protection. And then the back of the box, again, it's going to be mostly in Japanese. These are 0.21 ounces or 6.2 grams, and they are made in Japan. Now I wanted to show you what the eyeshadow quads look like before. This is the Designing Color Eyes. This one here is number 135. You can see very smooth texture as well. They are a different formula. These are a little bit more pigmented right off the bat. They're not as buildable as the new Signature Color Eyes. I really, really appreciate how you can get that soft wash or something very pigmented with the new ones. But I want to show you the packaging. The Designing Color Eyes, you've got this, glossy black front. You've got the shiny gold on the back, and it's a click closure. So you've got a little push pin here. The new packaging, you've got the shiny black on the front and the back, and you just have like edging of gold. This is magnetic closure. Look at the size of that mirror. So you've got a very large mirror. And again, just like with the Designing Color Eyes, it does come with a couple of brush utensils as well. Just so you can see the brush utensils that it comes with, you've got a foam tip applicator with one end that's a little bit more rounded and one that's pointier. And then you also have a little dual-ended synthetic brush, smaller side and a larger wispier side. One other thing to note is the Designing Color Eyes is 0.19 ounces or 5.6 grams. And again, as I mentioned, the new Signature Color Eyes is 0.21 ounces or 6.2 grams. Size-wise, if you look at the actual palettes, the new Signature Color Eyes are a little bit, you can see it's a little bit taller, but it's also going to be a little bit more narrow. So you can see, here we go, you can see the difference there. There's a little bit of a difference in the width, and depth-wise, this is going to be a little bit thicker than new Signature. So there's a slight size difference with the palettes. Now, as for comparison, I think the closest formula comparison I would have would be the Surratt shadows. And again, I keep mine in this Adept Cosmetics palette. Surratt shadows are not magnetic, but I add a magnetic sticker. And we're going to just do a couple of color comparisons with some shades here. We're going to start off by comparing this brown shade, and we're going to take a look at Vizon from Surratt. So I'm going to add these here along the side so you can kind of see them a little bit better. This one here is Zibelline, and I'm going to squeeze that one in right here. You can see it's going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit cooler in tone than the SUQQU. Ombre, which is one of my favorite matte shades. We'll put this one right here. You can see that they are similar, but again, the Surratt is going to be slightly cooler in tone than the SUQQU. And then the last one, this is new to me. I haven't used this yet. This is Haute Chocolat. And let's put that one right here by this topper. So it's a little bit deeper. This one's also going to be a satin finish instead, whereas the SUQQU is a matte finish. Overall, for these comparisons here, I would say that the closest shade is going to be Ombre from Surratt. There are some differences, but they're pretty similar. Now, moving on to the green, I actually don't have a color like this. This is another new shade that I have, and this is really more of a gold with a little bit of green in it. Let's go over here. So this is called Dore or Dore. You can see it actually has more of that greenish hue to it when you swatch it than it does in the pan, but it's not going to be the same. It doesn't have that gray base. It's really more of a gold green versus a gray green in SUQQU. Then I also have Verdâtre from Surratt, and this one I think will have more of a similar undertone. Let's put this one down here with this. So yeah, that one's gonna be the most similar, but you can see that there's still gonna be more gray in the SUQQU and a little bit more green in this Surratt, but they are similar and they also have a similar finish. Both the Surratt and the SUQQU here have a little tiny bit of finely milled shimmer in there, if you can see that. So these two are both shimmery. And then for the gray comparison, this is Gray Gardens, which is a matte shade. And the SUQQU here is also a matte shade. But you can see that the Surratt has much more, it's way heavier on the blue tones than the SUQQU shade here. Now the other one that I have is Enchantress, and this is going to be a shimmer in the Surratt, whereas in the SUQQU, again, it's going to be matte. Again, you can see that the tones here, these are much warmer grays. When you actually put them next to the Surratt, you can actually see like a little bit of brown in there. It's kind of like a cocoa gray, but really it's a pretty neutral gray, whereas these are cool tone blue grays from Surratt. Now, as I mentioned, I think out of my collection, the most similar formula-wise will be the Surratt shadows because they also have like a silky smooth texture. However, one of the big differences between them is the buildability. I really think that these new SUQQU shadows are unique in how easy they are to build up and just how versatile they are with either a light wash or something more pigmented. They blend so smoothly and seamlessly. I love both the SUQQU and the Surratt shadows, and I have to say I'm very impressed with this new formula. It was something I was really nervous about because I love the designing color eyes already. So it's like, how can they make that better? But this is a really beautiful, sophisticated formula. It reminds me a little bit of the new Dior formula in the silky texture that you get from some of the shadows, but I do think that this is just slightly better. It's a little bit more sophisticated. It's a little bit more seamless. It's easier to blend. Again, these can be softer and then build up to the pigment. And the Dior is generally going to be like more like, you know, you get what you see right away type thing. So they're completely different formulas. I love both of them. So don't get me wrong. I'm absolutely enamored with both of them, but I do think they're very different. So depending on what you're looking for, the new Signature Color Eyes formula may be something that interests you. I hope this was helpful. I have to say that I truly love this new formula. I think it's fantastic and I'm really enjoying it. Again, if you don't have access to SUQQU, you don't want to pay, you know, the prices to get it shipped to you. There are some similar shades to this in Surratt. Again, we have Ombre, which is a similar matte brown. And then over here, Verdâtre is similar to the green. The topper shade, there really isn't one that I have from Surratt, but if you pick out like one of the toppers from one of the Dior Quints, I think, you know, that would be suitable as well. The grays, I don't really have a great match. Most of my grays really lean really cool. So I think that's something that's unique about this particular shade. So that sums up my thoughts and my opinions on this particular quad, as well as my thoughts on the actual formula for Signature Color Eyes. As I mentioned, I do have the rest of the palettes coming to me, and I will definitely be showing those on my channel and putting out some looks and get ready with me's and things like that using those. But this is going to be where we keep my thoughts on the formula. And of course, if I have any updates, I will let you know. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's anything in particular you would like to see more of, please let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you very soon. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.